Hey guys, this is Miss Arlequin, and in this video we're going to be conducting our first reading of the excerpt from the play 12 Angry Men. So since this is our first reading, our objective is going to be just to get the gist. What is this excerpt mostly about? And so we're really going to focus on identifying the central idea and then choosing 3 details that really support that central idea. All right, so I want you to imagine it's a hot day and you're sitting in the last class of the day, history. As the teacher talks endlessly about some war, all you can think about is the back of your shirt sticking to your sweaty skin. You look at the one fan at the front of the room. You sigh as you look at the jammed window that will not open as another bead of sweat trickles down your cheek. So think about, would you really be able to learn in this environment? Would this be the most engaging environment for you to take part in that class? Think about the emotions you would be feeling. And the reason we started with this scenario is because it's quite similar to the one that's faced by the characters of 12 Angry Men. 12 Angry Men is a drama, also known as a play, by Reginald Rose, and it's set in New York City during the summertime in the 1950s. The entire play takes place in the jury deliberation room. The sweltering hot day adds to the suspense being built through the jury's deliberations. So what we're going to see in this excerpt is this is the moment right when the trial is ended. It's following the closing arguments from the lawyers. It's a murder trial. And so we are starting off the jury's deliberations. And the jury is made up of 12 members. They have to deliberate, which means they have to discuss and come up with a verdict. Ultimately, if they do come up with a guilty verdict in this case, it's going to mean the death penalty for the accused. And in this case, the accused is a very young inner city teen. Now, as the dozen men try to reach a unanimous decision, again, we talked about this in the unit intro, it's unanimous because that is a right guaranteed to us in America under the Sixth Amendment. So as they try to reach a unanimous decision while they're in that sequestered room, when you're sequestered, it means you can't leave. One juror, juror number 8, casts considerable doubt on elements of the case. He's very skeptical, to use one of our 6th grade words. Personal issues soon arise to the surface, and conflict threatens to derail the delicate process that will decide one boy's fate. All right, so let's read through this excerpt for our first reading. Excerpt from 12 Angry Men by Reginald Rose. Foreman. All right, gentlemen, let's take seats. 7th juror to the 2nd juror. This better be fast. I got tickets to a ball game tonight. Yankees, Cleveland. We got this new kid pitching. Model Jelski, or whatever his name is. He's a bull, this kid. He shoots his hand forward and out to indicate the path of a curveball. Shoom! A real jug handle. There's no reaction at all from the 2nd juror. You're quite a ball fan, aren't you? He turns to the foreman. Where do you want us to sit? The foreman. Well, I was thinking we ought to sit in order by jury members. He points with each member. 2, 3, 4, and so on, if that's okay with you, gentlemen. 10th juror says, what's the difference? 4th juror, I think it's reasonable to sit according to number. 10th juror rising, let it be. He moves to sit on chair 10. The jurors begin to take their seats. The 8th juror continues to stare out the window. The 9th juror is still in the lavatory. 12th juror to the 11th juror. What was your impression of the prosecuting attorney? The 11th juror with a German accent. I beg pardon? 12th juror. I thought he was really sharp. I mean, the way he hammered his points home, one by one in logical sequence. Takes a good brain to do that. I was very impressed. 11th juror. Yes, I think he did an expert job. 12th juror. I mean, he had a lot of drive, too. Real drive. 7th juror. Okay, let's get this show on the road. Foreman to the 8th juror. How about sitting down? The 8th juror does not hear the foreman. The gentleman at the window. The 8th juror turns, startled. How about sitting down? The 8th juror. Oh, I'm sorry. He moves to his chair and sits. The 9th juror enters the room from the lavatory and washes his hands. The 10th juror across from the table from the 4th juror. It's pretty tough to figure, isn't it? A kid kills his father, bing! Just like that. 12th juror. Well, if you analyze the figures, 10th juror. What figures? It's those people, I'm telling you. They let the kids run wild up there. Well, maybe it serves them right. Know what I mean? The foreman crosses to the washroom door. 7th juror to the 5th juror. Hey, you a Yankee fan? 5th juror. No, Milwaukee. 7th juror. Milwaukee? That's like being hit on the head with a crowbar once a day. Listen, who they got? I'm asking you. Who they got besides great groundskeepers? All right, now you gentlemen can handle this any way you want to. I mean, I'm not going to have any rules. If we want to first discuss and then vote, that's one way. Or we can vote right now to see how we stand. He pauses and looks around. Well, that's all I have to say. The 4th juror. I think it's customary to take a preliminary vote. 7th juror. Yeah, let's vote. Who knows? Maybe we can all go home. Foreman. It's up to you. Just let's remember, we've got a first-degree murder charge here. If we vote guilty, we send the accused to the electric chair. That's mandatory. 4th juror. I think we all know that. 3rd juror. Come on, let's vote. 10th juror. Yeah, let's see who's where. Foreman. Anybody doesn't want to vote? He looks around. The others are silent. All right, this has to be a 12-0 vote either way. That's the law, okay? Are we ready? All those voting guilty, raise your hands. 7 or 8 hands go up immediately. Several others go up more slowly. Everyone looks around the table as the foreman rises and begins to count hands. The 9th juror's hand goes up now, and all hands are raised except the 8th juror's. 9, 10, 11. That's 11 for guilty. Okay, not guilty. The 8th juror slowly raises his hand. 1. Right. Okay. 11 to 1 guilty. Now we know where we are. He resumes his seat. 10th juror. Boy, oh boy. There's always one. 7th juror after a pause. So what do we do now? 8th juror. Well, I guess we talk. 10th juror. Boy, oh boy. 3rd juror, leaning over to the 8th juror. Well, look, do you really think he's innocent? I don't know. I mean, let's be reasonable. You sat in court and heard the same things we did. The man's a dangerous killer. You could see it. The man? He's 16 years old. Well, that's old enough. He knifes his own father, 4 inches in the chest. The 6th juror to the 8th juror. It's pretty obvious. I mean, I was convinced from the first day. 3rd juror. Well, who wasn't? To the 8th juror. I really think this is one of those open and shut things. They proved it a dozen different ways. Would you like me to list them for you? 8th juror. No. 10th juror. Then what do you want? 8th juror. Nothing. I just want to talk. 7th juror. Well, what's there to talk about? 11 men here agree. Nobody had to think twice about it except you. 10th juror. I want to ask you something. Do you believe his story? 8th juror. I don't know whether I believe it or not. Maybe I don't. 7th juror. So what'd you vote not guilty for? There were 11 votes for guilty. It's not easy for me to raise my hand and send a boy off to die without talking about it first. Who says it's easy for me? No one. What, just because I voted fast? I think the guy's guilty. You couldn't change my mind if you talked for 100 years. I'm not trying to change your mind. It's just that we're talking about somebody's life here. I mean, we can't decide in 5 minutes. Suppose we're wrong. Suppose we're wrong? Suppose this whole building fell on my head. You can't suppose anything. That's right. 7th juror after a pause. What's the difference how long it takes? We honestly think he's guilty. So suppose we finish in 5 minutes. So what? 8th juror. Let's take an hour. The ball game doesn't start till 8 o'clock. Okay, Slugger. Be my guest. There's a silence. The foreman hesitantly. Well, who's got something to say? He looks at the 2nd juror. How about you? 2nd juror. Not me. 9th juror. I'm willing to give it an hour. All right, so now that we've finished our first read of the excerpt, it's time to write our summary. We want to make sure that our summary is short, that it is objective, and that it includes 3 main things. We want to make sure that it includes a central idea, 3 supporting details, and the overall message of the excerpt. So remember that in class we have learned how to weave together indirect quotes and direct quotes, And so we want our supporting details to be a combination of these two types of evidence. And when we focus on the overall message, we want to think about the theme of this unit. The theme of this unit, Unit 3, is democracy. And it's called Your Vote, Your Rights. So the message should be something related to how the author, Reginald Rose, views democracy. Specifically, how he views us individuals, citizens, our role living in a democracy. We talked at the unit intro about how 12 Angry Men is about the judicial system. So in terms of the judicial system, how does Reginald Rose view an individual's role in a democracy? What is our responsibility when we are a part of the judicial system?